Salutations, I am Daswolfen, your lone wolf elder geek of the internet. Today I'm proud to bring you the first episode in what is going to be an ongoing series about the evolution of video games. The history of arcade video games begins with the birth of video games themselves. The first video games were created and played on mainframe computers as far back as the 1950s, and the only audience for those games were the programmers and engineers that used those early computers. In 1962, students and staff at MIT developed Space War, the first computer game to spread beyond a single computer installation. The source code for Space War spread across the country to be compiled and played on other mainframe computers at other universities. In 1969, Nolan Bushnell got the idea for recreating Space War for a smaller system, to be connected to coin-operated terminals. Bushnell and Ted Dabney formed a company called Synergy to create Computer Space, the first commercial arcade video game, with more than 1,300 units sold. While not as big as a hit as the developers would have liked, it did succeed as a proof of concept for the possibility of coin-operated video arcade machines. As a copy of the game that I have is crashing, I will be relying on the video from the wonderful YouTube channel Classic Old Retro Gaming. The link to the channel will be in the video's description, so be sure to subscribe and give the original video a like. In 1972, Bushnell saw a demonstration of the first home video game console, the Magnavox Odyssey. Bushnell and Dabney reformed Synergy into Atari Inc. and created Pong. In the late 1970s, the school I went to had a Pong machine and a pinball machine, and they were my first experiences with arcade games. Pong is a two-player game, so I will again be relying on a video from the wonderful old classic retro gaming. This set off a wave of clones from other coin-op manufacturers, including Bally, Midway, and others, to put out their own versions as Bushnell failed to patent Pong. Magnavox eventually sued Atari, and they settled out of court with a licensing fee that allowed Atari to keep making games and eventually create a home version of Pong. Various other games were created during this time, including Gunfight in 1975 and Death Race in 1976, with the latter being accused of being too violent and sparking the first debate on video games and violence. Because of the controversy, only about 500 cabinets were made, making it a very rare cabinet to find. Sadly, there are no working versions of it, so I will not be able to play it, but here's a video from Old Classic Retro Gaming on YouTube. And while there is a working version of Gunfight, it is a two-player game, so once again I'll rely on a video from Old Classic Retro Gaming for a video of gameplay. Another important game that came out in 1976 was Breakout. Unlike Pong, where players send a ball back and forth, a single paddle sends a ball at a wall of bricks. While the original was in black and white, it used a color overlay over the monitor to simulate colored bricks. Nolan Bushnell offered a young Steve Jobs $750 to build the hardware for the prototype, plus a bonus of $100 for each IC chip that he could eliminate. Steve Jobs said he can have it in 4 days, despite having no real programming skills or being an engineer. Steve Jobs brings his friend Steve Wozniak into Atari for over 4 nights, while Woz still went to his regular job at Hewlett-Packard, and managed to reduce the number of chips down to 45. This earned a bonus of $5,000 that Jobs never told Woz about, and instead only paid him his half of the $750. Like Pong before it spawns a whole host of clones. Sadly, I lack the paddle or spinner to play this Breakout game properly, so here's another video from Old Classic Retro Gaming. Sadly, after this, the arcade video game industry stagnated for a few years, until a little game released in 1978 by Taito called Space Invaders, ushering in the start of a golden age of arcade video games. But that is a video for another time. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the evolution of arcade video games, and I look forward to continuing the journey in the next episode, The Golden Age Begins.